ಎಂತದ ಬೋಳಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ? ಶೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾ?
Hello people, welcome back to the channel. I think it's almost been 2 months since my last video. I had promised that as soon as I hit 2000 subscribers, I will do the Ulidavaru Kandante movie review. There have been a few other interesting trailers that have come out since then, but a promise is a promise. The first video after 2000 subscribers was supposed to be this one, and here I am. Those of you who have been watching my channel know that this has been requested a lot of times, and I've told you that I've tried it before and it did not come out very nice. And this time when I promised it, work has been so hectic that I haven't really had any time to shoot any videos. So there were days when I thought this is the bane of my channel, I will never get this video done, but I will give it a go anyway. Let's see how it comes out. Ulidavaru Kandante was the very first Kannada movie that I watched, and if memory serves me right, it was also the very first Kannada trailer that I reacted to. The trailer was very attention grabbing, and immediately when I saw this, I wanted to watch this movie. Now that was a long time ago, so I did toy with the idea of should I make this review just going by what I had watched before, and that was probably a year ago, or should I watch it again? I tried to come up with a compromise. I thought I will watch just some sections, the most important ones, at least the ones which I think are important, and then I will make this review. Little did I know, I ended up watching the movie again, and I don't regret it. Usually I do not like watching a movie again. I want to go with my first experience of what I thought about the movie, but this was quite a long time ago, and I did want to do justice to this movie. I went in thinking I'll probably skip through a lot of sections and go through this in half an hour. I did end up watching the whole movie. That does tell you something about how good this movie is. Just the very start of it, it's a haunting, sinister, rhythmic kind of tone when this little boy is chanting, and it catches your attention straight away. It's only much later on that you discover who this boy is, but this beginning would not have been out of place in a horror or a psychological thriller movie. It's a very short sequence though. Immediately there is an abrupt change of scene, and that shows how the rest of the movie is going to unfold. It is going to unfold from a journalist's pen. As the journalist who is telling the story, Regina, says that she wants to write a series because one chapter will not do justice to this story. Already very subtly, Rakshit Shetty is building up his own movie. Like, he's telling us how important it is going to be, how involved it is going to be. So he's setting up our expectations right then, and it's a very subtle kind of build up. There's no song and dance about it, but it's very effective. At this point, a lot of rapid cuts shift you to the first chapter, and there is an early warning as well that there is not going to be an attempt to provide a conclusion. Regina is giving us the introduction, and she says that the viewers will have to make up their own minds. It is a very breezy, very quick start, very much in keeping with how the trailer was, and a lot is covered very, very quickly in the beginning of this movie. But this is the precise point where it comes as a surprise that this was Rakshit's debut movie as a director, because he's not afraid to slow down the pace. I mean, usually you would see that directors would like to keep some kind of consistent pacing across the movie. It's very rare for them to attempt different paces within the same movie, but Rakshit is not afraid to do that. This sequence of little Richie being chased around by the police and the little girl clicking a photo, it did not immediately dawn on me like what's happening over there, but it's only much later that this significance of this whole sequence was made clear. So he's giving you these crumbs and making you wait. There is a very stylish montage of Raghu's story, and that may not be to everyone's taste, but I liked it. I think it did the job of moving the story along, and it did so without consuming a lot of time. And then we get the entry of the adult Richie, and what an entry it was. It is also very quickly followed by the views of all different people. What do they think about him? And I think once again the pace changes quite considerably, and a lot is covered very quickly, and by this time we already know that different perspectives will be told. They leave enough of gaps to keep the mystery alive, but there are also enough of overlaps to link these chapters together. Richie is in equal parts hilarious,
Antonio Montano,
vicious, playful,
ಎಂತದ ಬೋಳಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ? ಶೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾ?
and ruthless.
ನಿನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಉಂಟು, ನೀನು ಅದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಕೊಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನೇನು ಶೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
Especially right before the interval, when it is insinuated that he shot someone, and you are left wondering what kind of a character will Richie turn out to be. It's never shown that he shot the character, there is just an insinuation. And again, I think he's making the viewers do a lot of work. You can't just idly go in and watch this. This is definitely not a movie where you can leave your brains behind and go and watch it. You do need to be alert all the time, otherwise you'll miss half of the fun. And immediately when this is insinuated, there is the interval, and you're not given the answer straight away. So that's very much keeping in how the Little Richie story was shown. You're not given the answers immediately. You're made to wait for it. And after the interval, the next story starts. All of this while the certain threads from the previous stories, they're left hanging for us to wonder about what is likely to happen or what's going to happen. But even on the second viewing, I was none the wiser. I mean, there were not any obvious paths to take. It could have taken any turn, and I think that's the beauty of this. That's why I ended up watching the movie once again fully, even though I set out not to watch it again. Now, it's in chapter 3, fish curry, is when you realize that each of these chapters have their own rhythm, they have their own feel. In fact, each of these could be a separate movie and it'll still work. This chapter is also the most emotional and the most intensely acted one of the whole movie. Ratnaka's character is acted extremely well. She shows the monotony, the disbelief, the excitement, and her naivety. Everything is shown so naturally. It does not look like she's acting. There is no effort that is obvious. At this point, I'm almost tempted to reveal where all of these emotions are displayed, but there will be no spoilers as far as I can control it. You should watch it to find out in what context all of these emotions are shown. One of the biggest shocks, and why I'm glad I revisited this movie, was also finding out that is also Pasha from Family Man. I would have never guessed that. I had watched this movie much before The Family Man, and when I watched The Family Man, I never made that connection. Pasha is one of those characters where the actor has got the physicality of the character down to the T. In The Family Man, he's a commando, and he was probably one of the best casting decisions, in my opinion, of recent times. And Manoj Bajpayee in one of the dialogues just says that as well.
ये अंडरकवर है इसको साड़ी पहना दो तो कमांडो ही लगेगा.
Munna's track in this movie is one of those old school romance kind of tracks, and it captures his innocence and how smitten he is very lovingly and with a tenderness that one wouldn't expect from a noir movie like Ulidavaru Kandante. Now, throughout the movie, the acting has been really good, but it's quite natural. I mean, it doesn't look like they are acting for the camera. It seems like they're just going about their lives and you just happen to be there. And then Achyut Kumar comes out with this completely unhinged but immensely watchable performance. His discovery of the thing, or the treasure in this case, and his slow decline into madness is captured in just a very few short scenes, and his story is what ties all the threads from previous stories. So slowly you start making the connections. But even now, after so much has been revealed, you're left wondering what will happen next. For myself, even up to the last 20 minutes of the movie, while the overlapping narratives, they become more and more clear, there isn't any obvious end in sight. There was nothing that I could predict. And when Richie says full confusion, isn't it? Somehow I felt like he's saying that not to Balu, but to us, the viewers. There is a certain turn of events which evoke Richie's hurt from his childhood, and it is both shocking and satisfying because finally it seems like we will get some kind of a closure for the different stories. When the final chapter comes up and it is named Reasons, it is very aptly named. I mean, you couldn't have picked up a better name for it. At last, we start to see the links between Raghu's story and Richie's story. The choice of visuals is epic. I mean, there is a stylistic sense that Rakshit Shetty has that cannot be trained, as some people just have it, and I think Rakshit Shetty has it. It's very dramatic. Richie seeing the boat leave, and then it cuts to him smoking, and then Munna is smoking. And there are quite a few scenes like this one. The climax tiger dance sequence and the music score for it is iconic. It's unmistakably Ulidavaru Kandante. No matter where or when you see it, you will immediately think of this movie. There is a sense of drama to match the visuals. It doesn't seem like the visuals are just there for the sake of it. They are not there for an effect. They tie in very closely with what is happening on the screen, what is happening with the story and what the characters are going through. For the first time in the whole movie, in these final 5 minutes or so, I thought I can see now where the story is going, that I can reasonably guess what will happen next. But seeing it from Richie's angle, the Cuban Kid dialogue has now come a full circle. It's masterfully done. Munna's fate is at once sad and yet oddly satisfying, especially seeing it from his eyes, how he's able to take the next step. Even if it is happening only in his mind, it's just a metaphorical step, but it is happening and there is some kind of closure over there. But the decision to not provide a final definitive conclusion, spelling it out for the viewers like most directors do, or they're tempted to do, it is a brave decision. But I think that's the one which I believe is responsible for what makes this movie so good, why it's worth revisiting again and again. I can say it from experience, like I've watched it only twice, but it was as if I'm watching a brand new movie. This is why it's talked about so much. This is why you can watch it multiple times like I did, and you will still stay glued to the screen. For a debut, it is amazing how good this movie is. In an interview, Rakshit Shetty admitted that he thought of Pulp Fiction while writing this. In his visual motivations, in his proclivity for iconic attention-stealing visuals, there are hints of Kurosawa. Now, maybe I'm saying that because any multiple perspective movie is immediately compared with Rashomon. And I think I did that in the trailer reaction as well. And I was told, now this is not like that. And when I watched the movie, I found out why people were saying that. This is quite different from Rashomon. It is just as compelling, but it's very different. There are stylistic flourishes in the movie, like showing Raghu and Regina going through the same location at different times, and is done well enough to transport the viewer inside the story. I think all of it is done so well that so much is covered, so many stories are covered from start to end in such a short amount of time. There are little nuggets like Democracy's obsession with sunglasses, all little bits that you tend to remember about cult movies. You can find bits and pieces that you like about it and that really resonate with you, and you remember that for a long time. Throughout the movie, the background score, which could have easily appeared out of context and alien to the setting, is incorporated seamlessly. Timelines that crisscross across chapters and overlap ever so slightly add to the intrigue and show the intelligence with which the script is written. I think it needs real vision to be able to weave these all together and keep the viewer's interest. While you're watching the movie and the different chapters unfold, you think, okay, this is a nice movie. Everything is going along fairly linearly, despite some of the flashback sequences. Regina is sharing the story and things are shown in an interesting manner, but nothing about the so-called multiple perspectives has popped up so far. It just seems like regular stories which are being shown. And this is where Ulidavaru Kandante is so different from Rashomon. Rashomon is about the same event which is being told by different people, and every little detail of that sequence change, except for the start and the beginning probably, and what has happened in the middle changes when the three people are telling that story. But Rakshit uses just one quick sequence, one single point in the story to spring it on you. Now there is this single event which is narrated by multiple people where they completely contradict each other. And this single point makes you question everything you have seen so far. This is why watching it multiple times, it will be just as satisfying as watching it for the first time. The trailer was very breezy and it made it seem like a whodunit, like a mystery. But I think while the stolen thing, the treasure ties all the chapters and the viewers, it's much more about the characters themselves, their motivations, their flaws, their aspirations, their tragedies. There are no perfunctory characters. Each one has a place in the movie. Each one is properly fleshed out. Their reactions and behaviors are consistent with the character. And depending on your personal preferences or whose story resonates with you most or whose acting you like most, you can root for any one of them. Different people will identify with different characters, and therefore they can form their own opinion about what is the conclusion, like what did actually happen. What really happened depends on who is narrating the story and who is listening to it. And that's where the audience, the viewers are brought into it. You are almost like participating in what the story would be like. The movie is not perfect though. There are just a couple of minor things, and unless you are very critical of things, there would not be a problem. Regina as the little girl who took little Richie's photo is a thread I didn't really fully get. Maybe it explains why she spent so much time and energy pursuing this story, but it didn't really make much sense to me. If it did to you, please let me know. And I think at some of the places, the pacing of the story as well was a little bit too slow. And I some of the reviews I read picked up on that quite a lot. They said this was quite slow. I didn't really feel it while I was watching it because I don't mind slow-paced stories. And I think it was done fairly well, but I can see why people would pick up on that point, that it was slow at certain points. Were these things enough for this movie to not be as successful at the box office? I think this is such a well-made movie that it's a shame that it wasn't more successful at the box office. It really deserved it, but I think now that more and more people have watched it, it really helps Rakshit Shetty's next movies. Like anything after this, when he has done it, he has already built up an identity, he has built up a brand of his movies, and there are very few actors whose movies I would watch even without knowing what they are about. So don't show me a trailer, don't tell me anything about the story, but just by knowing who is in the movie, I will watch it. Rakshit is one of those people. All he had to do to make a run-of-the-mill movie was add a little sequence at the end showing actually what happened. He resisted that temptation, and I think just for that fact he should be applauded. He has done a lot of good things in this movie. My full journey about Kannada movies started with this trailer and this movie, and it made a very good impression on me. And I think anybody who is new to the Kannada industry, like I was a couple of years ago, if you want to start your journey, this is the movie that you should start with. It has strong story, it has strong direction, it has a strong identity. You might see hints of style that have been inspired from other movies or other directors, but it is unmistakably a very original movie. It makes you think. It doesn't spoon feed you. The acting is good, the story is good, the direction is good. For a lot of non-Kannada viewers, I think KGF was the introduction to Kannada cinema. But if you haven't watched Ulidavaru Kandante, you haven't really got a sense of what kind of movies Kannada industry can offer. What is so different about it? I think it is an underrated, underappreciated industry, like I've said many times in the past. And this is the perfect example to share it with other people, for yourself to watch, to find out why do I say that. I'm pretty sure almost every one of you has watched this movie. Hopefully this will inspire you to maybe give it another look, go back and see it again. I quite liked it. I liked it just as much, probably even a little bit more than I watched it the first time, and maybe it'll be the same for you. Finally, I've shot this video. It's a big relief for me. I've thought many times that this is like properly jinxed. I will never get this video done, so the first step is done. I have to edit it now, and hopefully it'll be with you soon. Do let me know what you thought about the movie and what you thought about the review. Let me know anything I've missed about the movie, stuff that you liked, that I might have missed, stuff that I brought to your attention that you'd never thought about when you watched it. I look forward to reading all your comments. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until next time, bye-bye.